You scared me so bad.
What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom, Manga chapter 542. Now, a lot of you guys are watching this video, and you're probably wondering to yourself, what was that opening scene all about? Am I watching the right channel? Is this Live via Satellite's Kingdom review? Because something has to be wrong. But I assure you, you're at the right place. I'm not losing my mind. Just bear with me a second. The reason I bought this clip into play is because I wanted you guys to see someone who was going through the exact same type of situation that Ousen'S was going through. Someone who thought that they had just lost a friend, but instead finds out that that friend still lives. And I want you guys to make your own judgment and compare these two photos of very similar situations. And you could tell one looks way more positive than the other. It would appear in this picture that Ousen'S' disdain for Shin is far greater than his concern for Banyo's life. Had anybody else on the planet come to save Banyo, I think Ousen'S' face would have looked a little more like this one over here. But because it's one of his greatest rivals, it appears he has mixed feelings about this situation. Because when it comes down to it, Ousen'S' just a competitor. He wants to be the best. And Shin always finds some sort of way to upstage him and rub it in.
You got three guys, one by one they're dropping. One by one they're dropping. You know what dropped these nuts?
Alright, so the chapter starts out with the Zao launching a massive offensive on the third day. And we see that not only has Ousen'S started an attack, but now Chigaryu is sending out his elites, and Gakui is also joining the fray, not to be outdone by these old relics. Gakui has this vision of himself, and it just isn't accurate.
1 year out of the academy, 0 combat experience, little punk thinks his shit don't stink. Well, just to let you know, your shit does stink. Stinks like shit.
Ousen'S sees that the Akko army is being attacked by all three armies at once, and he wants to go and help, but Kanjo tells him that the Banaji army right in front of them has also started to move. And then we see Ousen'S looking on, and he thinks that this situation with Chigaryu and Gyo-eun could actually get dangerous, and he asks for Denrimi to get him a messenger. But the great thing about this conversation was the detail in Ousen'S armor, man. Like, I actually started counting how many faces there were on Ousen'S armor, and I got 4. That's 8 extra eyeballs staring at you at all times. It is no wonder he misses absolutely nothing. And then we see the Queen getting handled. They can't believe these guys are the same guys from yesterday. And they can't really seem to hold them back. And in this panel, I don't think I've ever seen so many soldiers with glaives. You can tell these guys are elites. Normal fodder are usually relegated to the spear. Then we get to see Chigaryu cutting down people, and one of his men questions if Gyo-eun said anything to him, because he's swinging his glaive with more fervor than he has in previous battles. And of course, after finding out that all these years haven't been for nothing, and that Rinsojo's prophecy was true, he can't help but to find himself filled with passion. And you can just copy and paste those thoughts for Gyo-eun, because we see in the next panel that he's causing blood to just rain down on the Sukai Plains. Not something you see in your normal 5-day forecast. And as Gyo-eun continues to slice through the Quinn forces, this is picked up by Akko, who notices that even though he's being attacked by 3 armies, the Gyo-eun army has moved in so deep that he's unable to withdraw his main army and switch out the line formations. And over at Ousen'S, he's keen to pick up on this as well, calling the Gyo-eun army a nail that needs to be uprooted in order for the Akko army to be able to move. So he plans to leave the bulk of his forces with Kanjo and take a smaller detachment along with him to flank Gyo-eun's army. But before leaving, Kanjo warns Ousen'S that these new enemies seem like an opponent that is on a whole nother level. He believes that this enemy is actually more dangerous than Earl's Shield the Way fire dragons. And Ousen'S agrees with this, which is why he feels he must go over there, because if this nail isn't uprooted and it manages to punch through, then the entire Akko army will collapse. And I have to admit that this part really got me excited, because we finally get some confirmation of Gyo-eun's strength, and we're being told here that his strength exceeds that of Earl's Shade, which to me is great, because if Shin is able to take down Gyo-eun, that will finally get rid of this stupid argument of who's stronger, Shin or Ousen'S. And I like Ousen'S, but even I would have never said that Ousen'S is stronger than Shin. That argument really just never made sense to me, and I cannot wait for it to die. Then Akko and his men notice a small detachment, and he notices that it's Ousen'S himself, and that he personally came to give them aid to buy them time to regroup. But Akko isn't the only one made aware of this. Gyo-eun is also made aware, but this seems like a minor issue to him, and he tells his men just to do as they've been trained. Back over to Ousen'S, we see that he's rushing in to stop their advance, but suddenly he starts to notice a lot of weird details. First thing he notices is that the inside infantry is facing them, and secondly that it's not a rush formation in response to them attacking their flank. And finally, he notices that to his left and right, riders seem to be surrounding them. And suddenly, Ousen realizes the gravity of the situation and tells his men they need to turn around and get out of there, because this place is a kill zone that has been set up for them. And the last surprise that Ousen finds out is that these guys are actually elites. Not that that means anything to him personally, but to his men, it could be troublesome. And as they're trying to escape and cut their way through, Banyo takes his eyes off the road and gets himself knocked off his horse. And you can just see the terror here in Ousen's eyes. And as the men yell back for Banyo, he tells them don't mind him, just keep on going and protect Ousen. But as they're riding away, you can just see that this doesn't sit right with Ousen. Even though it's the right thing to do to keep moving forward, he decides he's turning back to get Banyo. And as badass as this was, what was really awesome to see was how excited the men of the Yokoho unit were to turn around as well. But this is definitely something that Banyo didn't want. And even the Zhao forces can't believe that they're turning around. Because in all reality, Banyo is as good as dead. It would take some sort of miracle to save him now. But this is actually a pretty good moment because it just shows how much Ousen and the rest of his unit care for Banyo. And even as the spears are closing in on him, you also get to see his concern for Ousen, stating that it would be good for him to die now, this way they could turn around and escape. And as the reality begins to set in that they won't be able to make it on time, Banyo asks that Ousen forgive his foolishness and that he alone must survive at all costs. But then Shin and Kyokai out of nowhere appear on the scene to save the day. And everyone's completely in shock, Banyo the most obviously. And when I first saw this, I was shocked myself. I thought Banyo was a dead man, especially once the spear started to dig in. That's when I was like, I don't think he's gonna make it. But horror surprised us all. But then in the next panel, we get to see their horses coming to a screeching halt, which I kind of thought was kind of funny. It really kind of made me think of these horses like they were riding on race cars or something. Which when I think about it, is probably horror's way of explaining how they got to the battlefield so fast. And then Shin says to Ousen, I know you're probably not going to be very happy about this, but I'm here to give you a hand, Ousen. And all Ousen can do in this moment is clench his teeth. And that was the chapter in a nutshell, guys. And that was an excellent chapter of Kingdom, guys, and seeing Shin and Kyokai back on the battlefield is a great way to end the year. And I love that by adding Shin and Kyokai to this particular battlefield actually evens the odds. Even though they're not generals, they definitely be on par with some of these guys, especially someone like Gakui. So it'll be interesting to see how some of these matchups shake out because I'm expecting Shin to go up against Gyo-un, but then I'm interested to see who Ousen would face off against. Because currently the Bananji army is still engaged with the rest of the Gyokoho unit, so he could face off against Bananji, or he could wind up facing off against Shigaryu, who seems to be the second major threat on this battlefield. But to be honest, instead of seeing Ousen fight Bananji, I'd rather see Bananji and Akko fight. Because it seems like they've already had a couple clashes before, and it'd be nice for them two to finish out their battle. And then in the final matchup, getting Kyokai versus Gakui. And being that she's a member of the High Shin unit, that may be motivation enough for Gakui to want some sort of revenge, even though I think he'd be light work for Kyokai. But we'll have to wait and see if these matchups are even necessary because just as easily as Ousen sent Shin, as soon as he accomplishes whatever Ousen wanted him to accomplish, he could just as easily call for him to come back to the center. Something I really enjoyed about this chapter was how well trained Gyo-un's men are. They were so prepared for the attack on their flank that it didn't even faze them. In fact, they turned what should have been a disadvantage into an advantage, where they were almost able to trap their enemy. And they did it so smoothly, it just reflects on how great of a general Gyo-un really is. And I'll be interested to see how he handles the arrival of Shin. Because it would be very crazy right now how we're so excited about the saving of Banyo, that if in the next chapter, Gyo-un just shows up and destroys this heartwarming moment, slicing Banyo in half directly in front of Shin and Ousen, and just shell-shock the entire audience. Because if I was horror, that's what I would do. And to me, when Shin and Kyokai initially arrive on the scene, it seemed a little too quick at first, and after thinking about it for a while, I started to realize it really wasn't a big deal, because we really have nothing to compare it to. You really can't even compare it to when Shin went to help Moten on the left, because at that point they were pretty much doing like a covert operation where Ousen wanted them to sneak over there and not be seen. Whereas this time on the right, they're meant to get there as fast as they possibly can. And since we really don't have a grasp of the time and the distances between these events, it's hard to really judge these situations. But anyway, guys, that about does it for this week's review. I wanted to take this moment to say thank you guys for helping us hit 200 subscribers. I'll probably be making a separate video for that, but I just wanted to thank you guys here in this review. And definitely let me know what you guys thought of this chapter in the comment section below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.